What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NFL Week 11 quarterbacks. Got a lot of quarterbacks to get into. It's a weird slate because we're without some top players, but we'll get into all of that. Before I do, if you're new here, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn notification bell. All that stuff really helps me out and really helps me grow. So want to continue that growth, trying to get to 400 subscribers by the end of the month, and we're almost there, like 385 as of the time I'm recording this. So thank you guys for all of your continued support. We'll get into the video now. So look, this weekend slate, there's no Russell Wilson, there's no Kyler Murray, there's no Patrick Mahomes. There's Deshaun Watson, but he's playing a tough New England defense. I don't really want to attack that much. So the top quarterbacks, and no Josh Allen. So like all the top quarterbacks that we've just kind of been targeting all year aren't on the slate. So it kind of makes it really interesting on selecting quarterbacks. You don't have to pay up this week. You can pay down if you want all the way down. There's a few guys that we're going to talk about that are pretty much all the way down salary. You can still pay up. There's still Lamar Jackson, who's kind of disappointed this year, but he's got a pretty solid matchup against Titans team that isn't that good. So there are some interesting quarterback options, some interesting stack options. It's just not only like 2 games of a total over 50 right now. So I just don't. There's not going to be a ton of shootouts, and one of those games I don't think is going to be as high scoring as Vegas suggests, and we'll get into that as well. So there is a lot of interesting quarterback plays this weekend. There's probably going to be a chalk option that we will talk about at the very end, the last guy I'm going to talk about. But we'll start off with Lamar Jackson. Going up against Tennessee, his most expensive quarterback this week at only $7,300. It's pretty cheap this season for the most expensive quarterback to be $7,300. Lamar's kind of had a rough year, but he is facing a Tennessee Titans defense that has allowed the 8th most points to opposing quarterbacks so far this year. So it isn't like it's a matchup where I'm really scared to go to Lamar. It's actually a matchup I really like to go to Lamar towards. Go to Lamar for. If you're going to stack Lamar Jackson, you should only stack one player with Lamar Jackson. It should be either Mark Andrews or either Marquise Brown. I'd probably prefer Andrews. If you go look at, honestly, I'm not really into game logging, but seriously, go look at game logs. Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown, I think, have gone off once in their entire career, and that was last year, week 1 against Miami. Their entire career, both of them have gone off together one time. So you don't want to stack both of those guys together. If you're going to do a Lamar stack, I definitely like the Andrews stack. I like Marquise Brown stack. You can play Lamar by himself because he brings so much rushing upside. I think this is a spot where we can see Lamar turn it around. They are favored in this game, but it'll probably be pretty close. These are just 2 teams. I think they're pretty sure they both are 6-3, have the same record. So, Lamar Jackson definitely someone I want to target. Cam Newton's up next, very similar play to Lamar Jackson, but he's just $1,000 cheaper. He's going against Houston Texans defense, which is allowed the 16th most points to opposing quarterbacks, but Houston is one of the worst teams in the league against the run. Absolutely horrible against the run. When the bottom 5 teams, when we do the running back video later, you'll see that they're literally one of the worst teams against running backs. And Cam Newton, what's he do? He brings you rushing upside. I think he has 6 rushing touchdowns on the season, so he is definitely someone who is going to get used in a rushing game. If that's the case for Cam Newton, then yeah, I love it. If you're playing Cam Newton stacks, I only want not N'Keal Harry. I cannot believe I almost said N'Keal Harry. God, that guy's trash. No, I only want Jacoby Myers as emerge as their number 1 receiver on that team. But Cam Newton's like Lamar Jackson. I only want to stack one player with him if I'm playing Cam Newton, and that is going to be Jacoby Myers. So I think Cam Newton brings us a lot of rushing upside for $1,000 cheaper than Lamar Jackson, and honestly just as good of a matchup with a game total of 1 less, and they're not favored, so he should be throwing a little bit more. So I do like Cam Newton a lot. I prefer him to Lamar Jackson because he's virtually the same play for $1,000 cheaper. So Cam Newton definitely one of my favorite, more favored plays at quarterback this week. Matt Ryan, someone who's probably going to be really popular this week. Going against New Orleans, the game total is 51 right now, and they are right now considered underdogs. The Saints have allowed the 18th most points to opposing quarterbacks this year, and it has been coming down the past few weeks. Beginning of the year, they were one of the worst pass defense in the league, but the last few weeks they've definitely started to figure it out. But I don't care. Saints-Falcons games historically just are high-scoring games. It's a pretty good rivalry down there. Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley have pretty good matchups against Marshawn Lattimore, who's been terrible this year, and Janoris Jenkins. Overall, the secondary really isn't that good. We'd like to attack New Orleans from the air this year. I don't want to attack them on the ground. So if this is going to be a really high-scoring game, I definitely like going to Matt Ryan. I like his pass catchers. I love his stacks. If you want to throw in Hayden Hurst as well at tight end, I think that's a good option also. Aaron Rodgers I put on here because I want to just talk about him. I am not interested in Aaron Rodgers this week. Not at all. I'm going to stay away from this game as a stack. I think this game you can have pieces of it on the Colts side and on the Packers side. But look, these are just I don't like to stack the Colts because I just don't ever want to stack the Colts. They run the ball a lot and they kind of spread it out to a million different players, and Philip Rivers has never put up more than 30 points in a fantasy game in his entire career. Look that up. That's actually a true fact. Philip Rivers has been playing a very long time. Never put up 30 in a game. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers. But on the other side, Aaron Rodgers has to go up against the Colts defense that's allowed the 31st most points to opposing wide receiver or opposing quarterbacks this year. They've been an elite defense. Secondary's been pretty good. Darius Leonard's a top end linebacker. Their pass rush has been good. Everything about that defense has been good. Now I'm not saying that Rodgers and Devontae Adams are going to have a terrible game, but for their price and probably their popularity because of the high total on the game, I don't really want to get there as much. I think there's definitely other places we can go. It's still Aaron Rodgers. If you're thinking a stack, it's still Devontae Adams, but it is a very, very tough matchup for those guys. Ben Roethlisberger is the next quarterback we're going to talk about. He is going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. They're heavy favorites, 47.5 game total. They should beat this team pretty handily. Jacksonville's allowed the third most points to opposing quarterbacks this year. Ben Roethlisberger honestly finally had his first good fantasy game of the season last week against Cincinnati, where he pretty much just torched them, lifted them up. Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson had some big games. I love Roethlisberger's stack options. We got Juju, we got Johnson, we got Claypool. All three of them really good. If you want to throw in Eric Ebron and be a little different, I think that works too. You don't even have to run it back because I don't think this game's going to, if you don't think this game's going to shoot out. If you think Pittsburgh puts up a ton of points, puts up 30 points, Ben Roethlisberger's stacks are probably the way to go. You can go with the running game as well, which we'll talk about in the running back video of James Conner, but Ben Roethlisberger is still definitely someone to be interested in. Carson Wentz up next, going against the Cleveland Browns. I can't believe I'm talking about Carson Wentz. Maybe I don't want to talk about him. He's bad. He's really bad at football. Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in that division right now. And I hate Daniel Jones. But Cleveland, secondary, not good. Total on his game is 49.5. They're underdogs. So Carson Wentz stacks. Yeah, they're in play this week. They're definitely in play. Carson Wentz is cheap. He's like $5,600 on Draftkings. They've allowed 11 most points opposing quarterbacks this year. Jalen Reagor's got a great matchup in the slot against Kevin Johnson. Fulgham season might be over. Dallas Goedert's going to be the chalkiest player of the week. I'm pretty sure he's going to be the highest owned player on Draftkings. He's $3,800, and everybody knows he's getting a good target share. You can stack Carson Wentz cheap, man. You can go Jalen Reagor, Carson Wentz, Dallas Goedert, and fit all of the studs. All of them. It's that easy. I don't really love doing that. It's like with Drew Lock a few weeks ago. I didn't really love stacking Drew Lock, but it allowed me to get Dalvin Cook that week. So, it's just... You have to look towards what the stack's allowing you. So, a pretty cheap stack with Wentz, Reagor, and Dallas Goedert is going to open up a ton. You can run it back with Nick Chubb, because that's the guy I want in Cleveland, or Kareem Hunt. Either of those two. We'll talk about those in the running back videos. I don't really want any of the receivers. They're in a good spot, but they just don't pass the ball enough for me to really want to get there. But Carson Wentz stacks, yeah, they're in play this week. They are definitely in play. Justin Herbert is probably going to be my favorite stack option this week going up against the New York Jets. I know the total's only at 47, but that's because the Jets aren't projected to score a lot of points, but the Chargers should put up a ton on the Jets. The Jets secondary is terrible. The Jets did just cut Pierre Desir, their starting cornerback, who was horrible this year. But, if he was starting, what's the backup? The backup can't be good. So, Justin Herbert is probably in a very good spot. Jamison Crowder is actually... I'm sorry, not Jamison Crowder. I'm just thinking about the Jets. Don't want to think about the Jets. Keenan Allen is actually kind of in a tougher spot against Brian Poole in the slot. So Mike Williams might actually be the guy this week. This could be a Mike Williams explosion week. I definitely like Herbert stacks. I'm still like Keenan Allen because he gets so much volume. But yeah, if Herbert stacks to Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. If you want to throw in Jalen Guyton in there, I think that's an interesting one too. But Justin Herbert, I definitely have a pretty good amount of interest in. You don't have to run this game back. I think I will, because I don't think the Chargers defense is good enough to just shut them out. It's not like with Pittsburgh and Jacksonville, I think Pittsburgh's defense will just shut down Jacksonville, so I don't even want to run that back. But I don't think not the Jaguars. I don't think the Chargers defense is that good. So if you can run it back with a cheap Denzel Mims, he's $3,300 getting volume. We'll talk about that in the wide receivers video. If you just want to go to Jamison Crowder, which is fine, or Rashad Perryman, that's fine as well. But Justin Herbert, I probably will run that stack back just because I don't think that defense is good enough. And a $3,300 Denzel Mims, he's probably going to pay off regardless, but he could smash if this game shoots out. Which I can't believe I'm saying the Jets could shoot out, but they could shoot out. Joe Burrow going up against Washington. This is another one of those super cheap plays that I think is in play this week. He's only $5,300 going up against Washington. He allowed 22nd most points to opposing wide receivers, or opposing quarterbacks. But last week we saw that this defense probably isn't as good as it is. I mean, like, that secondary that's been elite all year long got torched by Marvin Hall on like the first drive of the game. I mean, he just ran right past the corner. It wasn't even like a great move. He literally ran past the corner. I don't know if that was full. I don't remember if that was Fuller or Darby. They've both been good this year. Great. They both graded out well, but like that, I mean, that's Marvin Hall. Like, they have T. Higgins. They have Tyler Boyd, who's probably the most underrated wide receiver in the league. Their slot corner isn't good. Tyler Boyd's in a good spot. Burrow, no one's going to stack Burrow. This is kind of similar to the Wentz stacks, except not as cheap because his pass catchers are a little more expensive. But like Burrow, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, you want to play Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry this week? Yeah, if you play that stack, you can do that pretty easily. And then run it back with someone in Washington. Cincinnati's defense isn't good. Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick getting like 15 targets a game. Ridiculous. Terry McLaurin, there's guys you can run that stack back with Joe Burrow. Yeah, he's in a good spot. Jameis Winston. I don't even know if he's going to play. We don't really have official word if he's starting. Like, I'm like 95% sure Drew Brees isn't playing this week, but we really don't know if it's going to be Jameis or Taysom Hill. It should be Jameis, and that's why I put him on the video, because I could not, give up this opportunity for me to put Jameis Winston meme on the cover of the video. If he plays, great. If he doesn't play, oh well, I still got to put him on the cover of the video. If Jameis Winston plays, he will be the chalkiest play of the week. He will. At quarterback, at least. They're playing Atlanta. They've allowed the most points to opposing wide receivers, and we know Jameis is very, very explosive. We've seen it for years in Tampa. Last year was one of the best fantasy quarterbacks, even though he turned the ball over a ton. Just his air raid offense, which is the weapons here aren't meant for that. So that kind of worries me a little bit. Like, they don't have a Mike Evans I guess Chris Godwin and Michael Thomas are really similar, but they don't have a Mike Evans. And Mike Evans was very valuable because of his play style. So Emmanuel Sanders is probably their, most explosive guy. I mean, maybe Jared Cook, honestly. But Jameis Winston still, the Falcons defense has just been absolute horrible this year. They've given up points to quarterbacks literally every single week. Like, they're allowing more points than Seattle to quarterbacks. That's wild. Now, Seattle did give up like 300 yards to Jared Goff in the first half last week, and just Jared Goff never threw a touchdown. He always ran it in, which was, very tilting. But, it's just Jameis Winston should be in a very, very good spot here against Atlanta. But I think that's really all I got to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Got a lot of good information. Talked about some quarterbacks, some stacks. I'm literally about to film the running back video right now after this, so I'll be sure to get that one. I'll probably post them at the same time, so be sure to go watch that as well, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.